In an Easter special that has nothing to do with Easter, we have Doctor Who with Legend of the Sea Devils after this. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and talking about the next to the last Doctor Who special featuring Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor. This one, Legend of the Sea Devils. Usually I wait until later on in the review to talk about some of my favorite lines, but I'm going to open with this one. A crew from a ship looking for adventure. This is something that is what all Doctor Who should be about. It's basically a crew on a ship looking for adventure. And that's when Doctor Who is at its best. Now, this episode has its weak points, and it's something that it does over and over again, which is a little disappointing, which is dividing up the companions and the Doctor. Frankly, when the Doctor is not in the scene, it's not terribly interesting. Even with as character as good as Dan, they separate him and have him in a significant part of the episode working on some of the exposition. And frankly, that's what the Doctor is for. The fact of the matter is that the companions are there to not know what's going on, and the Doctor to explain what is going on. In this case, what we see a lot is a technical gobbledygook that the Doctor does. Oh, you have to reverse this and to do that. And okay, for all it's worth, they do have some swashbuckling going on. There's some something that's between a sword and a lightsaber that the Sea Devils use for their fighting. Of course, the Doctor is able to overcome them with some swashbuckling of her own, along with some surprisingly good sword work out of Dan, who, as far as we know, doesn't know really anything about fencing. However, we'll suspend our disbelief for that. The main character here appears to be Madam Ching, who is the queen of the pirates, and she is in search of the lost treasure of Jihan. And without giving too much away here, as they are looking for this treasure, they find out that a part of it is something that is affecting history and affecting the reality. When the Doctor and Yaz and Dan first arrive on this beach in China, which turns out to be a few centuries off from where they intended to be, they find that there is something wrong with the magnetism of the earth. When you skip a stone, it goes out to a certain extent and then goes flying off screen. This is something that the Doctor is able to tell that there is something wrong, and the Sea Devils are on the loose. They are explained as being characters, or rather creatures, that were on Earth before humans were, when it was a complete water planet, and so they are from Earth. Now, they've appeared in Doctor Who back in the John Pertwee era, have only appeared once since then, and even that was with the Silurians, so to my way of remembering it, it was hard to tell which was which. So this is the first really dedicated to Sea Devils since John Pertwee, and that goes back into the early 70s. So at any rate, this is what we have here. They are in search of a keystone to this lost treasure of Jihan, and trying to find out what the Sea Devils want to do with this, and how their technology is going to affect the future of the Earth. And so this is where most of it comes from. It really doesn't matter all of the explanation on this. This is simply a way to where that they can challenge a race of creatures that are hostile and put them to rights. And the Doctor does do a good job at showing that she can fight them off. They hint a little bit more at the relationship between her and Yaz, where she explains, as other doctors have explained before, that seeing that they live virtually forever and humans die off eventually, that having relationships is a very difficult thing. But that is kind of a very off the center plot to this episode. It's something that might have been developed if they had done it at the very early part of the show, where Yaz was immediately one of the companions when Jodie Whittaker came along. So they could have done this over a long time and developed it, but instead they're just kind of throwing it in our laps. After all this, they just realize this. Okay, fine. And we know that there's only one episode left, so they're not going to be able to develop it. It's kind of a shame. But romance is not what Doctor Who has ever been about, even though there has been this playfulness between David Tennant and Rose and Matt Smith and Amy to a certain extent, although since Amy was married and the Doctor seemed to be fine with that, there wasn't as much of a boyfriend thing there. Although Clara and Matt Smith seemed to be kind of an item, but that was kind of nixed when Capaldi came around. So this idea of the Doctor having romance is something that's just kind of been hinted at ever since the reboot, but not something that should take center of the stories. There is a reference to River Song, not mentioned by name, but the Doctor refers to her wife, and this wife, no doubt, was River Song, although if you go all the way back to William Hartnell, he did have a granddaughter. So this granddaughter must have come from some kind of relationship. So we will assume that the Doctor had been married more than once. They go back in history and find that history doesn't really look like what they expected. The Doctor says, never like in the books, kind of like Stephen King, making a remark about how movies adapted from Stephen King books are never quite the same. And also, while they're in search for a ship, the TARDIS arrives and there's no ship. And she says, "No ship, Sherlock," which is a play on words there. Not bad there. So that's what it is. It's a middling episode. Nothing hugely to write home about, but an interesting diversion nonetheless. Had they started out the series with this back 3 years ago, we might have had something more successful in Jodie Whittaker's time as the Doctor. But sadly, it's too little too late, I'm afraid. We're looking forward to Russell Davies. We know that what's going to happen here is that shooting is going to start probably during the summer, which means that we will expect some kind of announcement on who the next Doctor is going to be. The last Jodie Whittaker adventure is going to be sometime in the fall, and at that time, according to the preview trailer that they showed right after this episode, there will be a regeneration scene. So if you go back and remember that the Master had said that they figured out a way in that Time Watcher, whatever they had, was saying that the Doctor would have no more regenerations. We know for a moment that that's not going to be, but of course it's how you get out of it, not whether you get out of it in how these stories run. But anyway, that's upcoming, and that'll be sometime in the fall. We'll cover that when it comes along. So I'd like to know what you think about this. Please subscribe, and we will keep you informed of any developments Doctor Who. Like I say, before we see the next Jodie Whittaker adventure, we probably will know who the next Doctor will be from Russell Davies. So we're looking forward to that, and we'll, of course, let you know as soon as we do. So please let your comments be below, and we will answer as many of them as we can. And until next time, don't go far.